wanna be
Correct.
reminded of.
So, the water tower,
It should
I
be
don't
referenced
believe-
as a water tank, it's not a tower, it's a partially submerged tank. It's not a
well,
tower.
in order to get, so you don't have a lot of detail on that, and I'm kind of thinking that it's.
We have to know how many houses we design. We know that there's water, we did that step, we set the location for it, we have the pipes in the ground designed for it. We need to know how many gallons we need, how many homes we're building, and that'll be designed.
Isn't there a zoning issue, there?
Do you know the approximate height of the?
I don't, but it's not sitting out of the ground much, it's mostly submerged, it's a tank that's mostly underground. It's not a water tower.
Because we don't have any information on that. As far as deficiencies in here, Mr. Gill, right?
Yep.
There's some pretty substantial ones in here. There's a whole intersection here that's gotta be moved 180 feet. There's roads that gotta be widened. I understand, you can widen them, but, moving an intersection 180 feet is a big deal. Also, I'm curious, there's a lease, I would assume there's a lease agreement, a contract that Frederick Home has with the existing sewer plant.
Which is, you'll recall, I said they have to get rid of their sewer plant when they have a building.
But do we have that paperwork?
You would have at one point, whether the township still has it, I don't know. It's public record, it's filed in the courthouse.
More to the point, a municipality cannot deny a land development application based on the provisions of a private agreement between two private property owners. So, again, if the township wants to condition preliminary land development approval upon demonstration that the Frederick Living sewage facility will be decommissioned in accordance with DEP requirements, that is a perfectly legitimate condition. It is not a basis to summarily deny a land development application at the first planning commission meeting when we just got review comments 2 weeks ago. It's just not, and I'm urging the planning commission, and again, I'm hopeful that the solicitor will advise the commission and the board consistent with the law, I'm sure she will. But I'm urging the township to not lead us down the path of unnecessary and expensive litigation, which is where this will go if there is a summary denial of this application based on the current state of play. And I'm going to quote to you from the Commonwealth Court's decision in Honeybrook Estates versus Board of Supervisors of Honeybrook Township in 2014. A municipality has a legal obligation to act in good faith upon any proposed subdivision and land development plan. This duty includes discussing matters involving technical requirements or ordinance interpretation with an applicant and providing an applicant a reasonable opportunity to respond to objections or to modify plans where there has been a misunderstanding or difference of opinion. Do not recommend tonight that the board deny this plan. You will be participating in a violation of the duty of good faith, and ultimately, if the board were to follow through on that recommendation, the board would be violating the township's duty of good faith. We do not want that. We are here to work with the township. I'm telling you that we're all telling you that we can revise and resubmit these materials in a manner which responds to the comments and the ordinances. We're not here to tell you that we're not going to do that and that you must approve this as submitted. But you must give us a good faith opportunity to go through an iterative process. If you don't do that, the law is clear what the result will be.
I think, yeah, are you ready for?
I just have one quick one. The properties that you're having, is any of that prime agricultural land?
I don't know that it's defined in your ordinance.
Your ordinance does not define prime.
No, the state
What is
does.
prime?
The state does.
Your ordinance does not include a definition that says, see the state's definition. What your ordinance says is that if the board determines that prime agricultural soils are present at the site, that the board can reject the development.
No, that's not what I'm.
Oh, I mean, grab the actual
Two
language.
things. Soils and land are two things. I'm just asking you if it's prime agricultural land.
We don't know how to determine that because you're per the township. Remember, you have an ordinance.
Per the state.
No, your ordinance describes different land determinations, legal definitions, and that one doesn't exist in your township.
But if it is the township's legal position that the definition of that term as used in the ordinance is the state definition, then the township, again, I'll keep coming back to square, the township has an obligation to tell us that,
Okay.
and then we have to be given the opportunity to go and
Let me
use that
Let me
definition.
simplify it then. Make this question a lot simpler instead of going straight and stuff like that. Do you believe that you own any prime agricultural land? Just a yes or a no. That's all I'm looking for.
I'm not any kind of soil sign, because I don't know
No,
that I do. I don't know that I do, but
Oh, so-
I'm not a qualified.
Okay, all right, so you don't know, you
Prime
don't know
agri-
that you do, you don't think you do, whatever.
prime
That's
agricultural.
good, that's all I'm looking for. It's an
No,
answer,
I want to be,
yes or no.
I want you to be clear about this. Prime agricultural soils is a term of art that is used
Yep.
in your ordinance.
Mhm.
It is not defined in your ordinance. If the township's legal position is that the definition of that term is the state's definition, then you have to tell us that, and we'll go evaluate that in accordance with that definition.
Not
Why
mine.
would it matter? Let me ask this, can we simplify it? Why are you asking the question? What is the answer, what does it help you determine? What's the reason for the question? Is that fair?
The reason for the question is because I want to know if you are claiming that you have prime agricultural.
I'm not claiming anything, I told you, I'm not an expert,
So
but
you don't know then?
let's just say it was, and I'm not saying it is.
Okay.
Why would that impact what is your logic behind that?
Well,
What's the reason?
there's other, I believe there's other departments that can get involved with permits and stuff like that. Not sure.
We need to get whatever permit
Right,
we need to get.
Right, but I'm just saying, I'm just asking you if you personally or
I
your
rely on
lawyer,
professionals that.
okay, or if
that
your
I
lawyer,
hire.
whoever determines this.
Well, he's not gonna determine it, but yeah, I mean, engineers and.
Do you believe you have it or you don't? That's all I'm.
No, I'm not, I don't know the answer to that, I would need to hire somebody to tell me that.
All right,
All
that's,
right,
that's a good enough.
Ed has a quick question.
Norm, in your report, BMP 7, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17, they are the MRC type, but they do not maximize groundwater. Going forward, can we make sure that all the BMPs will maximize groundwater?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Though, in that, we could, I can work with Susan to essentially over-detain. That's not an issue. We could do that.
Are you good, Norm? All right. Man, I'm sorry, you and Norm said,
Okay.
is there any public comment out there?
We're just gonna ask you to come up one at a time, we're gonna ask Mr. Gill to move. And we're gonna ask you to state your name, please, for the record, so that the court reporter can get it.
Station,
My name's Steve Taylor, I live on Kraus Road. Been here for close to 40 years. We've been talking about private water, and we've been talking about public water, but don't have a definition yet of what that means. When we're talking about public water, what are we talking about? Where's that water coming from?
If you're asking me, okay, because township speaks, they have, but I'm talking about there is up 73, there's a pipe in the ground, fire hydrants along it, and it'll be to connect into that. They did ask, where does that water come from, and I said, I don't know, and I'll find out.
I think we need to know that, because if it's coming
Fair enough.
from our aquifer, which I presume it is, then it doesn't matter whether it's public water or private water. It's still taking water out of our aquifer.
Your point is not wrong, but the last administration said no way in hell do we want public water, so I wasn't here prepared to answer that question
I
tonight,
get that, yeah.
because I didn't know it was gonna become a question. I'm happy to go get answers.
That would be nice. Now, a comment is that when we talk about doing a test, you pull out so much water over a certain period of time, and that's all well and good. But what happens when you build all the houses and everybody's pulling out water at the same period of time?
From a lay perspective, which is me.
I mean,
Well, but I'm just saying, we can bring a water engineer, and your engineer can comment when all that's appropriate. From a lay perspective, they calculate what all the water would be needed per day for the community. and they pump at that rate
Okay.
for an extended period of time. So,
And do they measure the drop in the aquifer?
um,
Or do they just?
ultimately, they will put together reports. They will check your water and everybody else's water that's in proximity to see if you're impacted. And they will check what the impact is on the aquifer and all of that. But they are drawing, assuming all the homes are built. They'll do math, and they're gonna say we need X number of gallons a day, or per hour, or whatever it is. And they're gonna run that, and they're just gonna dump it into the stream. And you have to go through, there's government agency involvements, you know, this isn't, we can't come out in the middle of the night and do it, I mean, there's gotta be the right people there and all that. But you run it at that for an extended period of time to see what the impact is on everybody else. So it's not like we're just pumping 5,000 gallons a minute or an hour or whatever and seeing what happens. There's a mathematical equation on what is needed for everybody. That will be done. Like Mike said, this is our first meeting, so we need some direction. And you know what, the reality of it is, I'll say tonight, there will be at least one lot less and maybe more lots less on the plan next time we come back than there is today. And until we know what that number of lots are, I mean, one thing, I don't know if this planning commission even knows, we offered to the last group of township people, we said, why don't we come up with a number, less than the number we have here, and why don't we do 55 and over community, so you have nobody in the school. Those people have more money because they're older, they have their higher income ages, or else they're just living off their the money they put together. You have more money coming to the township, less cars on the street, you don't have anybody in the schools, it's a financial benefit to the township, and the last group said absolutely no way in hell. So, I mean, we just need feedback, because I can't come in tonight assuming that any of that stuff is written in stone, because I gotta find out with these guys, the ones that are now in charge, what they wanna do. So we'll work through whatever we need to do.
Okay, well, good, hold that thought. My last public comment is the idea of taking water out of the aquifer and sending it into the ocean just rubs me the wrong way, because eventually, it's not sustainable. I mean, you may be able to get your community in, but then the next community, and the next community, and the next community, eventually we're gonna run out of water. I mean, that's just reality. I think there needs to be a way to put the water back into the aquifer. And you guys probably know when they built the CVS down the street, they put big cisterns, I don't know if it's really a cistern, but a big drainage system. All the water from the parking lot goes underneath all the macadam, and it is afforded the opportunity to go back into the ground, as opposed to running down the Perk, running into the Schuylkill, running into the Delaware, and going bye-bye, so.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Peter McGann, I'm talking on behalf of my mother, Veronica McGann. She lives at 722 Heimbach Road, right around that area somewhere. Doug knows wells, correct? You knew about it?
Relatively new, within here a month. So the township should have been made aware of it when they did.
When you were digging them, I came down in the township and nobody down here knew what was going on. No one had a clue. She called me and said, they're digging next door in the field. And I was like, I don't know. I came up, I saw they're drilling wells. Came down here to see what's going on. Nobody here knew what was going on.
There were representatives township involved, they don't work.
I'm sure there was permits. You guys dug in August, correct?
That's
That's
what
when you
said.
drilled. That's when you were done drilling.
Okay,
Because you started around June.
okay,
You went in the field, you drilled 3
at least, yes, correct.
on that side.
Yeah,
How many did you drill on the other side?
I don't know that. I'm
Did
not,
you drill any?
I don't know that.
By the way, you were talking, all the water was coming from one side.
Just to clarify that.
Right, there's no wells on the south side,
To
correct?
clarify that, the water for all the community would be handled on the one side, and the sewer would be handled on the other side, but they're both for the whole project. I mean, it wouldn't make sense to drill wells on the opposite end, pump it over to there's gotta be a little well building
Okay.
that treats the water.
Your-
You don't just drink it
Your
straight.
one well, you drilled 180 yards from her well. Do you know how deep your well is?
No.
That you drilled?
No.
Hers is 100 feet. Now, she gets her water tested every year to make sure the iron levels, because of where we live, the rock, we live. You get iron levels in your water, especially when we have a drought. The iron levels go up. Everyone around here knows that. August, her iron level was 1.38. Last week, it was 10.6.
Wow.
She can't even shower in her house because the water's orange. Can't do her laundry, can't drink, can't cook.
We didn't draw any water out of that well.
It doesn't matter. When you drill through the rock, you shift that rock. She has spent close to $1,500 in the past 2 months on filters because of the mud coming through her well now, coming through her water, clogging up her filter system. It's dirt. The filters she buys, they're supposed to last 4 to 5 months. She's been changing them every other day. Every other day. She's 75 years old.
I mean, a well 600 feet away is not gonna have an impact on her well, but that's.
Are you kidding me? You drilled from rock, dude. Do you think this is coincidence that you drilled that stuff and now all of a sudden this has happened? She's been in the house for 48 years. That well's been 100 feet for 48 years. Frederick Living built all those apartments over there. They built all the cottages over there. You know what they did when they drilled their well?
What?
They tested. They tested. They monitored for 3 years. Every month they came over and tested and monitored to make sure her well was not dropping. You can't tell me you drilling that well 180 yards away from hers did not impact her well. Because now she's getting mud. The iron levels, I mean, that's through the roof. EPA's, their legal limit is 3. She's at 10. She can't drink it, she can't cook it. She's got to go to freeze to get fresh water out of the tank. She's got to go to the laundromat to do her laundry. So don't tell me your wells did not affect her, because they already have. And you didn't even start building anything yet. What do you think is going to happen when you start blasting for basements?
They consume the water.
Yeah, I have nothing to say. I mean, you're not letting me speak anyway, so there's nothing.
No, you
to
can
say.
speak, go ahead. What are you going
No,
to
it's-
rebut with? Because you obviously didn't come with anything.
I think the issue
Okay.
here is
We've got
if the township's position on the water supply issue is that it's better to use water from a quasi-public
I don't give a shit
source
about that.
or some other source, then the applicant will explore that.
You drilled wells
Okay.
right next to people.
I'm not
And you
going-
didn't think to test other people's wells?
I'm not going to debate the issue with you. We're here to discuss this application. This is one of the issues that needs to be resolved. And again, this is an iterative process that will take
You shouldn't have needed some damn ordinance to tell you to test the well 180 yards away from you.
All right, we understand your comment.
That's bullshit.
Mr. McCann,
What?
we'll talk.
Well, what are you gonna do about it?
Well, we gotta make a decision here.
She's living there now.
Right, we're gonna make a decision here.
It's ridiculous.
He has a point here. He has a point here. I mean, there's the cone of depression that goes for miles. You know, is there anybody else?
He's got his right there. I got a whole trash bag of them at
Please
home.
identify yourself.
Wood, Dennis Ashton,
Thank
Big
you.
Road. Lived 100 yards or so from the
Yeah.
cans, and about the same time frame. I got a little bit longer out of mine, I got about 2 weeks, out of about 3 or 4 months normal. This is what we get. I've got chips in here that have rock fragment in it, okay? You said several times you're not subject matter expert on hydrology or anything like that, but you're trying to tell us that this well, regardless of the distance, doesn't do any damage? Make up your mind, please, whether you're a hydrologist or not. If you don't even know how many wells you've got, how do you for sure know it's not impacting me and my family, where I have 2 little kids, that we want to spend 40 years here in our house, okay? I'm not gonna give you a chance to respond, okay? It's my turn to talk. It's not Q&A, I'm venting right now. Having options is great, I love having options, but when you got an option of poking an eye, kicking the groin, or stomp on the foot, there are options, all right, doesn't mean I like any of them. Doesn't mean we have to take any of them. The board that you worked with previously is no longer here because they got voted out. You're dealing with a new team now. If there's things that's sufficient stuff, fine. I think that, I'll start a GoFundMe page to help legal fees. Because this community should stay rural. That's why I moved here. That's why I love it here. When I found out that there, and how long has this been going on? How long have you owned it, like 40 years or so? 30 years? You know, why now starting to build? Have you tried building in the past on that property? So, you know, we gotta take consideration of why this is being done. It's gonna impact everybody around there. Sorry for your loss of water, Mr. King.
Anybody else?
Hi, Jackie Wagner, I live on Park Youngville Road. I just had a question, it was hard to see the plans, but there's a house on the property now, Hans Log House, is that on one of the properties now? What happens to that house?
The intention is to retain it.
To retain?
Yes.
Is it gonna be lived in, like a museum, what's?
No, again, that's premature,
Right.
but not right now. But the intention is that the structure will remain.
Okay, and it appears to be deteriorating, I've only driven past, I haven't been in it, but,
Township asked us to fence it with chain link fence, which we did,
okay, I've seen that.
and we'll see what happens here.
Okay, is the intent to restore it, or do you think it'll just fall down?
Our
with-
intent is to offer the township for them to have it if they want it.
And then a lot of talk of good faith on the township's part, and you seem to want the residents to be on board with what you want to do. Would there be any good faith on your part to use the ordinances that are in place now with the new regulations of the R districts? Instead of coming in with 220 multifamily homes, would you consider using the R districts that the township and the residents spend a lot of time and have a lot of interest in keeping the community in that way? Would you consider coming back with a plan that maybe does go within, you know, the changes that the township and the residents made?
We'll answer that question two ways. Firstly, the applicant's entitled to a review in accordance with the ordinances as they stood when the application was submitted.
Not
And
denying that.
secondly, as I've said, as Susan has said, and as Tim has said, as a result of the iterative process that will happen or should happen here, there's no question that density will be reduced. That always happens in every application. You end up going through a process and things get moved around, lots get shrunk, some lots disappear. So there will be some reduction in density.
Okay. But would it be to the standards of what the density is now in the new ordinance?
I don't know the answer to that.
I guess I'm
should say no.
asking as part of the residents here, that's kind of something that we would rather see, was that a plan comes in within the density guidelines that are now in place, and I understand your application went in before.
Yeah, we spent 2 years with the previous township trying to come up with a plan that everybody liked,
Right.
and we were told one thing, and we delivered on that, and we were told a different thing. Finally, they said just engineer it under our current ordinance, and that's what we did. That's why we're here.
And I think the residents here would rather see it with the new density. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Susan Myers, and I live on Big Road. You had said that it was going to be an HOA, so what does that exactly mean? Would you be responsible for all of the maintenance, like the roads and everything?
All right, good.
So, the town